Thank you. Everyone rise to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting, budget meeting of the Egg Harbor City Common Council provided in the following manner. Advance written notice of this meeting was posted on the Egg Harbor City Hall bulletin board. Advance written notice of this meeting was posted on the Egg Harbor City website. Advance written notice of this meeting was sent to the Hamilton Gazette and the press. The meeting is being conducted via Zoom and conference call. The meeting is also being recorded to air on the Egg Harbor City website, Channel 97, and the Egg Harbor City Facebook page. And roll call, please.
Mayor Petty. Here. Antonisi. Here. Clark. Here. Dash.
Here.
Galloway. Here. Heiss.
Here.
Hesse.
Here.
Timbers.
Here.
Wright.
Here.
Ritchie.
Here. At this time, I have a motion to open up to our budget workshop. Minimum.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This is now our second budget meeting for the year. So we'll continue to review. So I will turn it over to Jody to give more detail.
I mean, I didn't really change anything and too drastically. We'll kind of go over it real quick to exchange, but nothing has changed that drastically. The biggest reason I wanted to have a meeting, and I know council probably, depending what you decide what you want to do. The biggest change is really, we were planning to have the water treatment plant sale before, obviously earlier in the year. We thought we would have the debt service taken out of the budget. Our debt service payments were already due before the closing happened. So our debt service payments are still in the budget. So I'll go through the numbers, but right now, without taking anything for the utility into consideration, leaving utility, I talked to Leon, our auditor. His suggestion was, because with the date changes and all the things that were happening, leave the utility as it was for this year. Next year, we'll go ahead and move everything kind of into the current fund that we need to, because we're still going to have a utility budget, even though we're not going to be collecting rent. There are still going to be some expenses that remain after the closing, and there still will be debt service. It will just be all offset by fund balance instead of collecting rents or sewer and sewer charges. So his suggestion for the way to handle everything is basically just do the budget as if it was a regular year, and then if you want, you can offset. We have some utility surplus from last year that we could use to offset the increase for this year. The only warning is whatever we put in this year will potentially create a hole for next year, because that is not, obviously, it's not a regular recurring revenue. We will have it, we will have utility surplus, but just know that once we put it in, that's something that will kind of have to either be made up by a different way or used again. And then real quick before I kind of get back to talking more about that. So the way we're going to handle the payoff of the utility is we basically just put a line on the revenue side, basically saying proceeds from sale of water treatment plant, and then on the debt side, pay off debt defeasance. And we will just have an in and an out for paying off the debt, and we'll do that in both the current fund and the utility fund. That way, if dates change, if something happens, doesn't really affect the actual budget that we use to operate and kind of operate on a daily basis. So, and we did run it by the state. They are fine with us handling it that way. The only change that they had was that one of the capital items is funding that fire truck and road ordinance we did last year. They just want that specifically listed in the budget. Funding in there.
Can I ask a question about the rents? You call them rents, but that's utility fees.
Yes.
That people pay. There's not enough in there till the first half of the year to cover the debt service.
Not for, well, I'd have to look and see what we paid so far this year. Probably not for the entire amount, like with the operations that we've had to date, but it may cover some of it. So, but the debt defeasance that would be any remaining debt, not what's already been paid, like year's budget. Oh, so I also did an analysis, obviously, we don't predict the future, but I just tried to do the best projection I could of what is going to happen for next year, just so we kind of know what next year is looking like. What are we gonna have to put into the utility budget into the current fund budget from the utility, and what's gonna come out? So I can share my screen, I just.
We have that. report.
No, I did not print that out. So, it'll be about 115. Now, the public works is a little bit deflated this year because we had Gerard retire, but we only had the part-timers. And then part of Tim was going to the utility. So even though it says 115, that's not really the full change from year to year. I'll make it larger. That's actually not.
Is that what shared on right now?
Yes.
Okay.
This is not a page in the budget.
No, this is just my own little, I just kind of wanted to give a little bit of information. Is that a little bit easier to say? Yes. Okay, so these are just what I project is what will be changing next year. So we'll have about 115,000 public works salaries that will have to go in. It'll be about 30 plus the 12, so really 42 from the tax collector's office. 41,000 from my office, social security that's charged to the utilities, health insurance, the piece that goes, that the utility pays for the employees that are in the utility, postage for all the mailings for the utility bill, but I doubt if it's gonna wind up going down that much. And a portion of the audit. So that's about a little under 290. Things I think that'll have to be absorbed into the current fund. What I think will come out, because the utility has run so lean the last 2 years, we hadn't really been budgeting much utilities. The current fund's really been picking up most of that. So hopefully, the utilities, the gas, the electric, and the phone. Well, plus we won't have the phone bill for all the pump stations and the water treatment plant and all that. And I estimate that'll be about 50,000 in savings. And then our debt service that's coming in is 280. So a net savings of about 40,000 is what I predict for with how the budget would be affected by the utility next year.
So then.
But if we use 200 this year, obviously because of that debt service, that's kind of already accounted for. And will not really be as much of a savings next year. If that makes sense.
Basically, would be 160. Is that how you're thinking, 40,000 that we have to make up? Is that what you're saying?
Not make up.
Okay.
That's actually a savings of 40,000. Yeah, yeah, would actually be savings.
Is that anywhere on this paper or you're just?
No,
still
I'm
doing
just
it?
talking, just kind of wanted to give a little background about what I'm kind of predicting for next year. This is really just this year that I gave out.
Okay. Thing though, you said that it's 200,000 approximately that we would, you say, increase taxes and the 280. How is debt service, but how much? What I'm trying to say is that we have the $40,000 we're saving. Yet
Potentially next year.
It won't be enough to make up what we're using now to offset the 200,000.
Right, because if you use 200 this year without that even being taken into
And take out
consideration.
40, you're left with 60. That's good. You know, instead of 200, right? The 200 from the, yeah. Because what we would save in the, what would we?
I guess we would only have that 80. We would only really have 80 potentially of debt service savings next
Right.
year if we're offsetting that. So basically
So
that
that's not
40,000 would go, would be an increase of 160.
Yeah, so if we put all that money into offset the tax rate, we would not cover it with the savings, the debt
Right.
service next year.
Exactly, yes, correct, correct.
I have a question. Our payment for sewer to ACUA, we're not gonna be making that anymore, correct?
Correct, that comes out of utility.
That
That's
comes,
all paid out.
that's all paid out of utility, so that's a wash. How about the extra, do we insure each of those buildings? Will our
So
insurance?
the last year and this year I have tried, because we kind of knew we wanted to be able to start moving things into the current fund. So all the liability insurance is in the current fund this year. So potentially you could save money this year by reducing that and charging some utility, but either way, it's kind of
Okay.
one way or the other, you'd have to absorb it then next year instead. Right now, so potentially if we get a decrease from the JIF, which we should, because think about it, we're reducing our, you know, if you look at our schedules of insurance, half of it's utility and all the high value items
Right.
are utility. So hopefully our JIF premium will go down. So that is potentially another savings next year, but I don't know that for sure, so I don't have that in here because I don't have any figures, but I have part of our is working on for the JIF. I just filled out, like highlighted all the schedules of like what will be coming on as of June 1st. So hopefully even this year, we'll get a reduction for this year as well. But those are not anything I know, so that is not like taken into consideration at this point. Those would just be go into surplus. Really.
And that's the same thing with our hydrant inspections that we pay that company to come in, that's a wash, because that comes out of utility also. Don't we pay a company to come in, or did we used to pay a company?
Valve exercise.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, I don't even think we wound up doing it last year. Honestly. They did the PO set up, and I don't think they ever did. I remember like, well, we're selling it, so.
Okay, so that, but that came
But
out.
yes, that was all utility. Pretty much anything that really was strictly utility came straight from utility. So that's the biggest thing I really like wanted council to really like have. It should be your decision, you know, what of the tax increase do you want to use the utility surplus to offset? You know, so we can kind of go line by line again if you want. Again, I didn't change drastically. I did change a couple of things in the appropriations for the new code enforcement officer. I increased the land use board salaries a little bit to account for our new code enforcement officer, and public works a little bit to handle having it, because originally we had just had Tim, so now we're gonna replace Tim and have a new hire, put that in. Those are the two biggest things that I changed.
Why do you put it in different departments? They're, like you split it up,
If they work for more than one department, just to keep it more accurate, really,
really? So code isn't, so Donna works in both, so that's.
So
why she's
half
in
of Donna, half of Donna goes to
Okay.
code and half of it goes to construction. She really does do,
Okay,
half and half. You know, she really is both departments, so it just to kind of keep it more accurate. I mean, I guess you don't have to do that, but I just like to, I think it's more accurate that
and
way.
public works is the same thing with the water department, so you had some.
Yeah, I mean, in the
for
past, it's
water,
really
for-
gone as commingled, but the last few years, it's been, especially when we didn't have a third person anymore, we couldn't get somebody to fill that full time.
Mhm.
That's when they really kind of merged a little bit more, so then I started giving some of public works to that, because they were working in the utility, so you know, and that's paid by the ratepayer, so that really should, you know what I mean, that
Yes,
should
that
cover,
makes sense.
the taxpayer shouldn't have to theoretically pay for all that if it is, you know, for the utility. So usually just to try to be more accurate and just get, you know, charged where it is.
So this budget includes all the all the public works hires.
Yes.
What is the tax rate
It is.
increase?
So without using any utility surplus, it's like almost exactly 10 cents right now.
And what about the county?
I don't have information.
Because they have decreased.
Okay,
It's 2 cents.
okay. This is just our like figures. I don't have anything for that. I think the local school is gonna be a decrease of 1.5 cents, because I did get their numbers, yeah.
Right, 6 cents.
Is what,
6.
going up 6?
Yeah.
Oh, down, oh, wow, okay. I haven't gotten their figures yet, so I don't have their information, but we got like the school.
That's good.
Cents down.
That would be 9.5, and that would be.
Right, the local school. So, do you want to go like through this line by line? Or it's totally up to what council wants to do, or if you just want
Whatever changed. Yeah, whatever you changed, that's fine.
Should you have another paper copy? I can't see the screen.
Yeah, oh, you know, let me share it, hold on.
That one's not on the.
Yeah, let me do that,
Okay.
share.
So one option is that since the Greater Egg's going down 6, the county may go down 1, you may want to consider doing whatever, whatever their increase, and take a little bit of the tax hike so that you don't have that on your shoulders. You have all that on your shoulders. It would be great, still be painful, I guess. I mean, we don't have to
Greater yet, right?
we don't know what the school, the local school.
We got the local.
The local school, I believe, is gonna go down like.
You had counties down, schools going down, grade ranks going down. So if you add that up,
9.5.
so that's almost, if you increase the tax rate 0.5%, 50% or whatever, 100, you're at 0.5. Then you're really.
Insignificant, 9.5.
You're there, you know what I mean? Yeah.
You're over the hump.
And then also, next year, Jody and I talked about, you could have marijuana. And you increase the revenue, that tax increase goes away automatically.
Working for, that's another thing, it goes on, no one knows.
Bring us money.
People accept
Bring us money.
it.
Can you add anything to Edmonds to be able to collect that money? Edmonds program,
You have to wait, if they're waiting for the state
To figure out how to do it, eventually.
how to do
You
it?
mean for the,
Yeah,
I mean,
to be able to
are any of the
collect,
businesses open and operating yet?
No.
That's one town.
Agriculture Township has
Belmar.
Yeah.
Agriculture Township has some, obviously has some. Yeah,
They-
those are the ones that was- Yes.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, Angela and I have talked about it for an hour, unless the state comes up with some kind of guidance, maybe using like their sales tax, like. Or something. Something.
Or have pay whatever the business reports to the state, we'll get a copy of that, and I think we'll have to go from there. Most likely, we'll have to buy their own system. Is what I envision.
I suggest we have a paper copy of what their revenue is, because there's something that we collect on the, we really don't get a paper copy of. So. I don't know how accurate it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like a sales tax return or
Yeah.
something, so that way it's based on, like, official number, not just.
In the perfect world, the state would collect our taxes.
Yeah, just look it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't envision that.
We'll never.
We'll never get it if that's.
Uh-huh, right.
Anybody
Yeah.
see their, water system?
Yeah.
Things, I copied from about 10 different boroughs have this problem. We've had people come, they say that they're part of this program, they send us Egg Harbor Township's money, I had to send them that. Then they keep sending us reports, they're like, here's the report of what we're gonna send you money, we're like, these are not our customers. They keep sending the same thing, we're like, stop telling
My
us.
girlfriend Carrie does Egg Harbor Township. She was telling me we're at the
I
difference.
just looked, I said, call EHT
Call
anywhere,
Karen,
I'm just,
she'll
they're
tell
getting
you.
ours and we're getting theirs.
Yeah, she was telling me the saga when we were at the dinner.
Oh my God, it's frustrating.
We're just digressing.
Yeah.
So people,
Yeah, just thinking.
the wheels are turning again. You can't smell that? I meant Steve's wheels. So I'll ask the question. If we're gonna get a decrease from everybody else for 9.5, and would be a 0.5 raise for us, how much of that revenue would that 0.5 be? But total,
It'll be one thing.
Yeah, each of our pennies is about 20,000.
so it'd be about 100,000.
Original, actually.
Even if to be added, rate of risk, still 20. We were 19, like some people before, we're a little more for this year.
Our added variables were
That's why I like user friendly budget. Percentage wise, how much for salaries, how much for benefits.
So we want to, that long.
Yeah, well, that's the conversation that has to be had. We're, sitting on 200,000 plus the utility, but we're seeing a deficit, right? 200,000. All of it. Makes sense.
Okay, right.
Yes. Amy.
What's next?
This is gonna be next.
Double checking. I don't think I had changed. I'm using all the revenues.
We got 21 minutes. So we pick on the air conditioning in here.
They said they were coming in, so they should be here either tomorrow or Monday.
Can't forget.
Well, that new week.
Well, that's true. Yeah, so tomorrow, or possibly early next.
Just slightly tomorrow.
I think it's tomorrow.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Everybody is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
But I heard it.
One thing we spoke about, and plus we'll look into this, and it's up to the bar. Up to current. Bottom.
The only change I see is I bumped rental inspections up 5,000. Just putting in the utility information. The only change on the revenue side. And then appropriations. Yeah, I changed the land use zoning salaries. And that was for 19,000, so it's for the new.
You didn't already,
And
Have
also
30 there?
for, no,
like, two part-time?
and then also for a little bit for, that full 19 is not, it was really probably 16.5 for the new hire and then 2,500 for Steve, so any increase that we did.
I thought we had budgeted for one full, two part. How long is that been?
Yeah. But what we had one full time. Was anybody else? That was just one full time. I think we got rid of it. And it was just two.
For where, just where you go?
Yeah.
So it's never,
Tim was the last one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have-
it's just two. No, it's not at the same time. Only it's full time. It was one full time, that was it. Oh, we changed the economic development because we talked about, for Triad to do the, grant applications, I put in 15,000 for that.
Can I ask a question? Sure. You following?
We got
On the parks and playgrounds, you get salary and wages. What is that for?
lifeguards.
Oh, okay. And a,
It's a supervisor.
Yeah, any lake employees, or just lake employees, yeah. A little bit for class 2 officer and police. EMS went down just a little because we got the final number from Galloway. I think I had 25. 22 this year. I increased solid waste tipping fees because our tipping fees have really been going up a lot. Make sure not to cover that.
Yeah, we got,
And just a little bit for public works for the new line.
You didn't have to for it.
So that was your new changes?
Obviously, put in the grades, but those.
I know you.
Yep, that's it.
Any funds for, police training,
For what?
for police training?
Yes, there's a line item in the police budget for training.
Is
Yeah,
there-
not separately broken out like in our budget, it's just part of police LD.
Does it cover, training for
For what?
drug recognition?
It's really hard for ourselves. Or it's not. Well,
We don't get a grant.
Drug
Drug recognition expert.
recognition expert,
So let's say DUIs, DWIs, if someone's using cannabis, the only way you can do anything is if you have a drug recognition.
She did speak about the safety meeting. I think she's
She's
well aware.
she's already sent someone, I think, or it's in the process, so right there,
Yeah, she's on
yes.
That was a big topic about the safety meeting. You were there.
Either
Talk
you're
about that.
read or.
Yeah. remember
I
we
told
talked
you I
about
had this, I wasn't paying, I didn't remember her talking about that.
the training and.
Yeah. All right, so what's everyone think? Any questions for Jody moving forward here?
it. I don't like holes, so we should be bowling them. So, you know, switch it. It's important because we don't know what's. Repeated the whole again, because the number of the actual number.
But is like our current like increase right now without.
If we were to use that, what would be the whole in the following year? So, that's it. Would be.
I mean, without knowing any other, without any
Right.
other
Just-
numbers changing, I guess you'd be looking at making up 160,000 instead,
The
because you'd be
40.
taking out, instead of savings of 280, you'd have a savings of 80, really, so I guess you'd be, that 40 savings would be basically an increase of 160 instead.
What's the bottom line on the increase?
Right now, we are looking. Right now, it's at a 10.5 cent increase, with doing just with it as it is, without putting any utility, like surplus or anything into it.
Then the other thing, we did raise the prices for the lake, and we don't know how that's gonna go. And, like, right now, Jody never budgets the whole amount, what is it, like 120? So last year, the revenue was like 148 or something like that, so even if we did 148, we'd still be getting more in revenue, which would lower that tax rate next year, if we counted the whole 148. Jody likes to be cautious because of weather and things like that. Closings, unexpected things. Due to that period. So, and where we might wind up making 180,000, never know. Who knows?
Well, canvas, hopefully.
And this,
All of those.
so if you put all the money from the utility fund and have a zero tax increase for the municipal purpose tax, you would have an overall tax decrease for the rest of the websites. Is that what you guys
Yes,
said?
yes. Give or take.
It's dangerous. like-
That's the scenario.
You can't.
Services or
Yeah.
increasing.
We don't know next year, the county's gonna increase, school's gonna increase.
Well, there is one definite savings, and that's the savings through JIP. That's about it, because we're all floating 9 properties, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely what that dollar amount is.
It was a gamble, whatever, it's a gamble.
There's no way you can itemize those buildings, what they're covered was. Or, you know what I'm saying?
It's not just their building, it's the operations.
Right,
You distribute water to people.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jody, how are we on the maps?
We're fine on caps, we always have plenty of.
Yeah, you never
They have, yeah.
We're back, so we're done.
Like every year, so as far as.
So
cap-
we're below with 2%.
With what we have in the.
do we have any possible retirements next year? No, right?
You never can tell.
Well, no, just to make sure we have stuff, have it.
Joe, you
Budgeted for payouts.
you always put stuff.
Yeah, we have, well, there's, in the budget is 15,000 to go into the accumulated absences. It's not very much, but we try to at least do a little bit each year that we try to offset. And when we've had a couple of bigger ones, luckily it was in the police department, which means we're able to do some transfers to try to cover and punish some of the trusts that we use, so luckily that was.
And the 15,000 covers an individual by state statute for max payout anyway, so. On sick time, right? Well, we don't pay out, but yeah,
45 days of on
For retirement.
yeah.
What was the amount this year from collecting taxes, just for the fact that put it down, since we've been selling off the.
Yeah, I think. Our tax, and that's what I tried to be conservative, I think I talked about this in the first meeting we had. The state basically makes you in your budget, put in a reserve from collected taxes, and it's based on what your percentage of collection is the prior year. So our collection rate's been going up, which is a good thing, but I don't use the exact prior year, I kind of like lower it a little bit, so that way in case it doesn't mean that, it's not, we're not losing anything, and we're not drastically talking honestly, like a huge difference, but
Right.
it's a little bit of that is a number you could change a little bit. Let me see what we had last year. So last year's reserve for uncollected taxes was 237,000, this year it's 223,000.
That's pretty significant.
That went down a
And you
good.
know, once you get these delinquent tax people off of the tax rate, the tax bill, the tax rolls, that money, is really a savings because she doesn't have to budget for that anymore, because we own them.
Yeah, doing a lot of those foreclosures that we've been doing the last few years has really helped a lot. We got a lot of delinquent tax relief, because a lot of times people just getting those notices pay off their liens, so our delinquent tax collection really improves from doing those. Plus, then we get the property, we get them, now we've sold a whole bunch of them, now we back on.
So if we change that number at all?
Right, 96, 98% taxes.
98, it was in the 97s, but the last.
Remember.
Have a 98%, yeah.
Tax revenue.
It's 98.96. Our tax collection went up to 98.96. It was in the 97 for that few years before that. So I thought 98 was kind of conservative. That would be, you know, we don't have as good of a collection year.
And then how about surplus? How do you sit that?
So right now I have in the same amount as last year for our revenue. The only, if you look, it looks like it's different. We had the deferred charge for the down payment for the bond ordinance. I increased it to cover that deferred charge for that, for the emergency we did last year. Other than that, using the same amount of surplus of 215, but we actually have
215, what's left?
a lot. We actually, like, it's the number. We have not quite 1.5 million like before that, so. We had like the last 2 years. Some like unanticipated revenue.
So, I think everybody's on the fence here of what they want to suggest.
I mean, we don't have to make it, we can hold off on introducing the budget, or we could, I should say, you don't even have to hold off on introducing, you could change for adoption, you could think about it, we could introduce it with the 10 cents, or you can always amend the budget, and you can, without having to have a second public hearing or re-advertise or anything like that, you can always lower the tax rate. So we could put anything in to lower the tax rate, and that doesn't have to be re-advertised, doesn't have to be any of that kind of stuff. So if you're not sure, you could just leave it as is, and then you can change it and lower it, you know.
I'm just
whatever
concerned
you
that-
adopt.
I'm just concerned that we have residents that are having a hard time paying for food.
Mhm.
And for us to hit them with a
Right.
tax increase,
No,
it's
yeah,
gonna be upsetting for some people. You know,
You're waiting for the tax rate from the greater egg, right? And the county.
Yeah.
what's our timeline?
on keeping taxes flat? is
So if we
that-
introduce
that-
tonight,
that-
like, you know, we don't have to do anything. If we wanted to, my tentative plan is to adopt it the first June meeting. And that's when we can make that final decision. You don't have to adopt. I mean, we're already past the state's calendar, but I think that.
So we'll have all.
Or done anything, so, and the state is aware of like our water sale, you know, they know all that, so they're not pushing us, you know, they've got hundreds of budgets to review, they're
Yeah.
fine with us reading. So,
Well, I
yeah.
just came from the Becker meeting and your taxes are going up 78 cents. And Leon said it's happening everywhere in every town he goes to.
I think about it, every single thing is costing. You
Oh,
go to
yeah.
the grocery store, you spend more money, you get every single
That's
thing.
why I try to raise it though, because you know, people
Right.
should be everywhere and every other aspect of their life.
So you don't have to make a final decision, we can introduce this way, you can think about it, decide what you want to do for adoption.
I was a gambling person. I would probably gamble that we're gonna be okay next year. I mean.
I mean, use the surplus to offset it.
So to piggyback on that, I trust everyone up here. We all were elected for a reason, and this is one of the, if not the most important reasons. I have no problem putting my neck on the line for anything. I believe the city's moving in the right direction. I believe next year and the years coming, for how long? No one knows. It could be a year, it could be 5, 10, 15, whatever it is. I think the city's moving in the right direction. We're bringing the residents, we're bringing the businesses, and we're finally putting our foot in the ground saying, here we are, come to us. I'm gonna say we balance it and we use that money, so we have no increase this year. I'm a thrill seeker, I'm putting it out there. If it backfires, well, then I face the ramifications on it. But that's how I feel about us sitting up here, the mayor, those of you sitting in front of us, and it is what it is, so.
Yes, but there's a lot of good things coming, so.
If they were guaranteed.
Well, there's a couple of them, you can guarantee that you're gonna see your chip rates go down, right?
And we can guarantee.
You're gonna guarantee that there are gonna be marijuana sales coming.
And our lake
And
revenue
you
is
can
going.
guarantee that Treasury's gonna still gonna go up again next year. I've never seen a budget where expenses go down. And the problem is created when you don't raise taxes a little bit. And you then the following 2 years, you have to raise them a lot to make up for what you didn't do last year. And that's tradition here on this side. It's not these particular people, but for years, everybody's always trying to reduce. We cut bodies, we get rid of people. We're working on a shoestring. And things cost more, but yet we don't raise taxes to pay for it. So I think you need to raise taxes a little bit every year to cover.
Yeah, but when does it end?
Right.
And how do people survive?
But a little.
And why would
bit.
people keep living here?
Well,
If you keep.
I can afford to pay, $50 more. in
Not
taxes.
everybody.
Well, I'm a senior citizen. I have a very limited income, so I know what we need, and neglecting things like code enforcement and, having not enough police and not having enough professionals doing the job in the day-to-day hurts the city more than the money, I think. And the only way around that is to increase your revenue side. And there's ways to increase revenue that we're really not addressing on.
Like what?
Redevelopment.
We're still, we only have one spot that has to be, that's up in the air, and that's.
Well, I
our
also
site.
like to see.
There's no
Egg Harbor
other redevelopment
that
because
goes on
you can't,
track again.
you can't build anything out in it or see that. Well, that we're trying. We just had a meeting with Shalom Obaz about that, okay? So we're working actively on that. But there is, since we're a Pinelands town, our only ace in the hole is Tower Site. When the movie theater comes in, we're gonna get, how much is an acre? 10,000 an acre on like 30 acres with property sale. And then we're gonna have a taxable building, because it's not it is a redevelopment. So
Well, the revenue from the sale is a one-time deal, but.
Yeah, but
if
he'll
you want
still
recurring
get
revenue.
a, you'll get a 5-year tax abatement, but after that, you have a revenue stream of probably a $6 million building, just like over at the industrial park. That goes into our valuation. Once you raise the valuation, your tax rate automatically. So we're looking at $12 million to add to our.
If they work out, I mean,
Well, they're gonna
it's like just as much as a gamble as.
I said it was a gamble, but if I was a betting person, I'd.
Is there any reason why we couldn't put part of that into a surplus?
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
It's at least like
As
a
much
dozen.
as you want.
So.
So that's what we had, I think it's like 260, so the max you can put in is 260, or you can put in nothing, anywhere in between. Like,
My concern is that Egg Harbor City doesn't have minimal taxes. We have some of the highest taxes in the county.
It is the tax income.
If you look at the rate.
Because we have. I hate hearing that. I hate hearing we have the highest tax rate. We
Yeah,
have
no,
the
really.
lowest rateable base too.
That may be so. However, perception often. So what it is that people feel taxes in Egg Harbor City, regardless whether you don't feel it as much, people feel it. And the issue is going to be is that if you incrementally increase taxes every year, regardless what services you get, the taxes are going up every year. Eventually, everyone's going to feel it. So I don't have an issue if we're looking prospectively down the road and saying we expect to receive more revenue next year. We expect to receive more revenue year following. Take some of the surplus to mitigate somewhat the increase in taxes. I'm not saying just let people bear that burden, constantly let the
Well, I
homeowner
would
bear
want to see us
that burden.
use all of it. Saying this, bring it down to zero, it doesn't make sense.
Okay. So let's do this. So obviously we have a lot of conversation that apparently needs to still be had. I want to allow us a couple minutes so we can eat for one, if we want to use the restroom, so. So we're gonna have another budget meeting next meeting, 6 P M.
A special dinner on the side.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so, all right, can't do it that, so.
So don't introduce everyone.
Can you just take a stroll?
Well, you can introduce them, you could always say.
Yeah, I mean, you could introduce it, like I said, we can change this.
That's what it is. I mean, it is what it is right now.
All right, I'll feel the motion to introduce it for where it stands.
Where it stands with a 10.5% increase.
Yes,
And we can adjust it to whatever.
yes.
That's without the school.
That's it.
This is just local.
Yeah.
Right.
So do
Yeah, no,
I,
it's actually an option, you can change it to whatever.
so,
Before you adopt, theoretically, you could change the entire budget, you have to do certain types of advertising, and public
Correct.
hearings if you do. Straight, just if we were to say, yes, you know, we decided we want to use capital, to use 100,000 in budget. That we would just do a resolution to amend, right, after we do our public hearing as it is. Do that resolution to amend, and you go and adopt with that new additional amount, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to advertise. public hearing.
like,
And what about the public hearing? When should we do that? Like you said in June.
I would do the first.
first meeting in June.
It's a
First
first
meeting.
Alright.
You have the public hearing and we would adopt all the same, right, theoretically.
That's June 8th.
Assuming that all we do is make that one change, and let's just say for argument's sake, you decide to use it, you do 100,000, do it at a public hearing. We would do a resolution to amend the budget, adding in that 100,000, then we would go ahead and adopt it to the end.
So let's take from now until then to take all this in, review thing. And do our due diligence, and then I think I had a second, I don't know if I had any motions. Did I have an initial motion, first motion, to introduce as it stands?
Now or-
You want to tell us it's on the agenda?
Yeah. Yeah,
Just to adjourn.
yeah, all right, well, that's the case, we have a motion to adjourn for 10 minutes.
Second.
All in favor? All right, at this time, we're closing the budget workshop, we'll reconvene at 7 o'clock.
The 17 participants. Barbecue is great. I thank everybody that helped with the barbecue. Our whole staff, you know, a couple of people are here, but basically all city hall came out and cooked, and Meg's the boss out there. Boss it up. Keeps them in line. We obviously, everybody knows we're closing the work plan on June 1st. You know, nursing work today. I mean, selling, so we're closing. And I did manage to do the final interview on a supervisor for the week. Keith and Meg were kind enough to do the first interview. And then her name is Carrie Rednick, and she has accepted the job. She's already asking me for details about who needs off in the summer, so she can start the schedule. So I'm gonna say good tonight, right? And I just need council to approve that. Carrie,
No.
is it on there?
No. I didn't know that.
Sorry. Anyone want to make
We could add to the resolution if you want, that we're doing later, and I could just add her on. Yes. Okay.
And then, we did have an MVP meeting. We are still working on the design plan for Philadelphia Avenue. It looks super good. We're paying a consultant to design, like, not exactly like, you know, have these landing in the historical ever. So we're not doing that. That's it, but we're trying to get some sort of conformity to what the buildings look like and giving the opportunity for them to make improvements, basically through the NPC. So it looks good, right, Keith? It looks real good. And that's going really well. We're still doing the lot design for the garden. Well, what we don't call it the garden.
Archway green.
Archway green. Used to be the garden now. It's Archway green. It looks like Pinelands isn't gonna have any problems with that, but we still have to get that final approval. First responder part is going well. The letters are on order. They should be in 3 weeks. And the irrigation was put in. We think it was completed. Kim was responsible for that. And she donated her capital money to do that, so it's great. Irrigation is it?
There's soaker hoses.
Okay.
There's a couple, there's a few of the others as well, the grass, but the soakers are to the trees and the virtual and the other. There's 2 zones.
What? Okay. Well, 21. Okay. So, and then Ryan and I had a meeting with Shalom Babaz, the gentleman who wants to, develop, is it 526? Chicago? 526 Chicago, that's where the St. Nick's School is. There were a couple of plans he submitted, and we heard before planning board, they weren't really thrilled with it. But he does have another idea now, so he's working through that, and hopefully we'll get on, you know, Brian and I will meet with him again. I think Brian, you're gonna work with him along with, Leah.
Yeah, we suggested that the board, given the proposal history of that site, is probably not going to want to hear it informal, or something similar that we've seen previously. That if you wanted to submit an informal application, and meet with the professionals, city building official. So, it's necessary that the person must go and meet with us to talk through how the application is. Would you guys be okay with this? Given the history of that property. So, if you have any level of confidence in it, just prepare it as best you can and move forward.
Yeah, and I think it involved single family, so that's a good, that's a good thing. Also, we talked to him about the, Egg Harbor City North, and he was very, I guess, open to our ideas. We don't really care. Any type of rental type single family units there. She's at least.
Yeah, well, he floated a couple different concepts. One was for developing single family homes. But they have an ownership model where we discussed, you know, there's successful ways to do it. There's some examples. So, see what's working in this area. Hopefully come back.
You said absolutely upper scale, something similar to. Who is this? Shalom Babaz, same guy? As his school? So there's a little bit of something happening. We'll read about and we'll see what happens. I don't have any other information.
No, well, tower site,
Tower
he's moved along, he's working with their state planner right now on updating the development plan, so that the city.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, moving into committee chair report. The other night we had a finance committee meeting. We, first and foremost, I brought it to the committee regarding the foreclosure on 1100 Deer Street. Committee did not want to entertain it any further, so it stands as is. We discussed our EMS contracts with Galloway, which our city solicitor will be reaching out to them. And we also discussed the public works proposal for the on-call. So that's what I have for finance. I have nothing for safety at this time. Highway, Councilwoman Heist.
Just resolution number 18, the hiring of the 2 public works gentlemen, full-time gentlemen for highway. That's it.
All right, thanks. Councilman Dash, code.
Code, I have really nothing for a code other than we have one of our code officials is still out on medical, but we just heard today that he should be back in mid next week, so we're hoping that.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman Antonisi, School Board and Property Park Playground.
I don't have anything for the school board. This past week, we had a meeting with all the lifeguards, to get them all set for the season. So they're all good to go. Everybody is really eager and it was a really good turnout. I think all the paperwork's in and Jackie's happy. I know we're all happy.
Yeah.
The majority. We're really excited about the new supervisor, so we can get the season going. I know personally, I'm excited about resolution 20 about Gennaro's, the concession stand. That's really exciting. And 21 about the fireworks on July 15th. That will be a wonderful day out there. So that's really exciting. And then I also just want to express gratitude towards Gina Marie. She's going to donate some flowers, and Gina Marie, myself, and the kids are going to go out there. We're going to do the boats and dump all the flowers out there. So it'll be all ready to get the season started. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Raymond. Councilwoman Clark, license and ordinance.
Nothing to report.
Councilman Timbers, land use, Fire Nation.
Nothing to report.
Meg, anything with you?
We did have our quarterly safety meeting on, yeah, we all of us met and discussions on some future training for crossing guards for next year, upcoming next school year, and the like staff getting some training, so.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hesse, Rotary.
I have nothing to report.
Councilwoman Galloway, Sustainable.
Yeah, I have several things.
Okay.
We're gonna have a belated Arbor Day tree planting in East Photo Park at 11 a.m. Saturday, May 20th. We have a river birch tree that would do well down near the water there. And we're gonna plant that. So anybody's interested in helping out, helping us dig the hole and all that, please come out. We'll also be celebrating National Trail Day on June 3rd. And we're gonna dedicate the nature trail that day. Hopefully, we're still working on plans for that. We'll have some good news to share at our next council meeting regarding some of our initiatives for the year. One of them is developing an e-newsletter to send out to the public. When I ask anyone on the council to write stories about what's going on in their various committees. And I put that in the newsletter, so, you know, we can let the public know what's going on behind the scenes, so to speak. We're also preparing to submit a new stewardship grant to Atlantic City Electric. Grant deadline is June 30th, and we had several meetings and discussed what we can do. And we're gonna see if we can continue with the trails. And we're gonna go to the other side of the lake and spruce up around the Civil Shallow grave site and part of that trail. So hopefully that'll be awarded. There's another small grant opportunity for trees, $2,500, and I wanted to talk to Ryan to see if we can use it on any of those streets that are being paved now. Maybe we can contact the homeowners and ask them if they want to probably plant 6, maybe 8 trees.
We just took one out today that's dead sides. That's
And the people who got trees in November planted in their houses, we still have the tree bags here. Please come and pick them up. And if you can't pick them up, please contact us and we will come out and deliver them to you. I had one call today. A woman said she can't be here for, when City Hall's open. So I'm gonna drop that off, but I did send an email out to everybody. Yes, today, was that today, or yesterday?
We did have a woman come in today, so
Did she?
they got out there, cool.
And that's it.
Thank you.
And then I have just want to tell you that there's trees dead at Cedar Creek still. Because whoever's planting the trees, they're doing the volcano mulch and they're not planting them correctly.
Well, they're not our trees then. If
They
have
are our trees. They're exactly where all the trees were. There's like 2 or 3 that are not.
They were supposed to be replaced.
They were, I think they were.
In November, they were replaced, and they're dead. Well, then we will contact the guy and have him replant.
I don't know if it's the ones that they replaced or the ones from last year, but there's I'll be by there next week. They didn't have any refund. I'm assuming.
Well, they might be late a little bit, but we don't believe we have there to say which trees needed to be replaced. It was the dead of winter, so. we couldn't tell. Yeah.
But you do, so I'm saying for that grant, you can use maybe some of that money to replace those trees, but.
Well, no, if there are trees that were used the grant, planted in the grant we got this or there's a maintenance guarantee, so if there's dead, it's the contractor.
Right, well, you should look and you should talk to the contractor about how to replace it.
Well,
Has he on New York Avenue this time?
yeah, there were several.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gallo.
Did you pull that in?
No, I was there when we replanted them. No, I marked out the dead trees that we got. Showed them where they were going and planted 5 new trees there.
5 Okami cherries.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll check it out.
Thank you. Chief Elwin, how you doing?
Long time no see, Council. Been a busy few weeks for us. The numbers don't show that, but we've been doing a lot of follow-ups. So for our numbers, we've had 7 burglaries, 1 fraud report, 1 stolen motor vehicle, 8 reports of theft, 8 motor vehicle accidents, 2 pedestrian stops, 20 traffic stops. Only 5 summonses issued. We had 2 arrests, 4 business alarms, 3 residential alarms, 97 crime prevention activities, 4 domestics, 19 EMS calls, 28 follow-ups, 453 property checks, 8 public service calls. In terms of operation support and training, Officer Rodriguez finishes 2 defensive tactics instructor course. I believe I talked about this last time. He said it was great, and he's very excited to beat us up, us beating the rest of the department. We've had in-service training to make sure, we started our in-service training at the Atlanta Navy Academy to make sure that we are in compliance with all of the AG mandated trainings that we need to have. So throughout the rest of the year, officers will be going. It's a 1-day course that the Police Academy offers, so we are continuing up on that. We have 2 officers in the next month going to Alcatest training, their initial training. Some of our officers are new, so you have to have at least 1 year on before you can even be scheduled to take the Alcatest training. And then we are limited to 3 slots per year that we can send people for the training. So we have 2 that are going to that in the upcoming month. And then we have 5 officers who are going for their research for Alcatest. Alcatest, if anybody's not familiar, it's when it used to be a breathalyzer, but it's basically to test the blood alcohol level through breath. Again, there are 5 people who are going. I think there are 6 who need to be recertified. And actively speaking with the stations to see if we can get another slot, but they are very, very limited slots, and they are only offered at very specific times of year. They get put out at the beginning of the year. So we have those. Some things that have been going on. As many of you may have seen on Facebook, there was one evening last week where there were a slew of burglaries to cars and some damage done to cars. It was not only in Anchorage City, there were also vehicles that were burglarized in Mullica Township. We have been working with Mullica Township as well. Some of the items that have been stolen from these vehicles have been tracked to locations in the state, leading us to believe that it was a targeted effort by a group, as opposed to, I know that we have had a history of car burglaries, and our first thought was, oh, is it so-and-so? But so-and-so is locked up. So we know it's not our regular guy who normally does that. We're following up with the businesses where credit cards were used. I would strongly urge anybody, if their vehicle was broken into, please report it to the police. Yes, I see it on Facebook, and yes, we see it, but there's false information about, oh, there were 20 break-ins. Well, there may have been, but only 9 were. So, and some of those came about, we found out because officers, after we saw that there was a pattern, officers went to various houses where there were Ring doorbells and started knocking on doors. One of the victims said, I didn't even know until the police came and knocked on my door, and I went to go alone. So, we're doing that. I will tell you that some of our officers on 4 to 12 and on midnight shift have been out of their vehicles, actually walking the streets, the side streets, to see what kind of either foot traffic there is, whether there are vehicles that are slowing down, stopping, anything like that. So if you do see officers walking around, randomly, say hi, because they may stop you if you're out walking your dog, hey, what are you doing? But that they are going out to see what we've got going on and see if there's any other activity that is happening. Again, no, please report it formally to the police, not on Facebook if you can. So that's what we've got, with that. We were at Zoo Edmonds, we had a good time. I would like to, thank Mike and Petty for helping us man the grills. Lieutenant Vernon and I were out there. They were the ones who did most of the heavy lifting in terms of flipping, and Councilwoman Adamisi with the hot dogs. I just kind of held the buns there for them to. But teamwork makes the dream work, and they were tasty. Other things that are upcoming, we have a walking trip. Our first graders always come over for a walking trip. So they will be walking over and touring the PD. They have a great time all the time. They get to see the cars and talk on the PD and push the lights, and we do faux fingerprinting cards, so they get fingerprints, they get tests. It's a lot of fun. Mary Jim Petty usually gives a tour of the other side of the building, so that's
I didn't
upcoming.
get that.
Yes, it's on, yeah. Watch out for Elijah. Will do. My first one, I'll be like, you're going in cage. Yes.
Yeah, that's a student, it's a student.
We did talk about that. They come around 1, but they're here for.
Oh, I
a while.
could be here.
Yeah. There's a Cedar Creek Fit Fest. Egg River City will be going over there sporadically. We have talked to the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office, specifically the fatal accident unit. The Fit Fest is supposed to be about providing students with information about mental health and wellness, ways to stay fit. So I thought it might be good to the fatal accident unit to talk about impairment of various sorts. So Sergeant Rosiello over there is organizing and trying to make sure that somebody from the fatal accident bureau is there. In terms of staffing and what we've got going on, Officer Winkle, he is one of our newer hires. He does have a lot of law enforcement experience, approximately 10 years. He is now acting in a detective capacity. We have sent him to a few different trainings for that, and we will continue to do so. And I can tell you right now, I'm very, very happy and very looking forward to see what he can do. He was on vacation, he started today, he has gone through a background, looked through 2 liquor licensing, very, very thorough looking, and I'm just like, wow, this is great. And so I'm super excited about his attention to detail and his work ethic, and so we will see what's going on with that. So if you see Detective Winkle around, he's the tech thing. Other than that, some sad news for 2 of our employees. Luisa Almeida recently lost her father. She's one of our crossing guards, and she just informed me today that she will not be coming back as a crossing guard next year. And then Eladio Rivera as well lost a family member. So you guys can just keep them in your thoughts. That was great. Appreciate it. But that's about all we have right now. Any questions, concerns? Me too.
Has anything happened with the bicycle patrol?
We scheduled the pro pedals, but then we got busy, so we didn't really, so no.
No, nothing's going on with them for this year. No.
Well, okay. Nothing's going on with them. The day that we were supposed to bring them over for the scheduled maintenance, things got a little bit hectic, so we need to reschedule it. That doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means that police work is fluid, and when you've got 4 people working, we only need to respond to something. We need to prioritize.
Sure.
Yes.
Chief,
Hi.
you had mentioned the alcohol testing. So we're sitting in our office, we trained for that. Have we trained any other officers to be drug recognition experts?
No. As mentioned, a lot of our officers are younger, so there are time constraints and there are certain stipulations in terms of, for example, with the alpha test, you need to have a year of full-time service on. And with limited spots, it's hard to get everybody in. So we're working on that. Then you need to have your standard field sobriety testing and HGN certifications. With HGN, you need to have 10, I believe it's 10, don't quote me on that, but from my recollection, you need to have 10 instances where you have administered HGN successfully, and then submit that information to the state police before you are even eligible to become a DRE. They offer 2 DRE classes a year. So it's a process and we're working on it. But with the limited amount of training that is offered and the process that it takes to get to that, we just don't have I think we have, right now we have 2 officers who may be qualified. One is Lieutenant Perna, and quite honestly, with his workload, I'm not giving him any more responsibilities. And the other one is an officer who will be away on military training for the 2nd DRE training. So, so it's a process. It's not something that we're saying no to, and we're working to getting people qualified to be able to even apply to be in the force. Is there any particular reason why you're asking about a DRE?
Yeah, I got a cannabis retail that may be opening in the next couple of months.
Okay.
It may be a concern.
Okay. What's that?
I just said check your people.
So if they're hired.
Well, you know, with the use of cannabis and the legalization of cannabis, it has become, and it's become more and more difficult for officers we can't use cannabis, the smell of anything. No, we can't do anything. So unless we actually see someone consuming, then of course, yes, then we would need to have a DRE. Fortunately, with mutual aid and with countywide DREs, you know, we'll call a DRE, and by the time, most of the time a DRE will come out and do that. And quite honestly, depending on what's going on with it, not that a DRE is let me say, a waste of resources, but the probability of one DRE for us working when stuff is happening is, you know, whatever the statistics are, or whatever the ratio is to when they're working and when they're not. So we do rely heavily on mutual aid for DREs, as do other jurisdictions as well. So, but no, absolutely, it's not a no, we're not ever doing it. It's you need to get the people the steps that they need to take in order to go ahead and take it. All right. Thank you.
Did you say you're using like another municipality's DRE? Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
Test?
So,
Okay.
so yeah, mutual aid, whenever there's an issue, and there's a countywide list, and they will put out a countywide call saying Egg Harbor City needs a DRE, and anybody who's available will call dispatch and say, okay, we're responding. Same thing as with canine, same thing as, you know, so whenever there's a specialized need, people will call. And so same thing with Spanish speaking officers, same thing with female officers, same thing, you know, it's one of those things where if the municipality has a need and they don't have the resource, they will reach out to the neighboring jurisdiction. Thank you.
Anyone else? No, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Joey, do you have Meg? Heather? Angela?
Thank you. So for your final consideration is resolution number 17, authorizing the sale of the water and the wastewater assets to New Jersey American Water for the sum of $21,800,000. Been a long time coming, and this will be it. Closing is scheduled for June the 1st. It's actually just a paper closing. All the documents will be signed. They're already prepared by the mayor, most likely the day before, and the funds will be wired on June 1st. Also for your consideration is number 28, the ordinance for code. In that ordinance, pursuant to your direction, I designated the city engineer in case of absence or inability to serve on the part of the zoning officer after a period of 2 weeks or longer. I've had several questions about amounts, salaries, fees for this particular provision, which I can tell you is inappropriate for an ordinance. Generally, fees, sums, et cetera, are done by resolution, not by ordinance. Resolution is much easier to change. An ordinance needs public comment and is much harder to do. Also, if you want to change it, it's easier to do it by resolution than by bill. For this particular case, if the engineer has any fee, he may not have a fee, they have a fee for the future, may or may not. There's always a contract with the city which specifies the fees and the sums that the city engineer is permitted to charge the city. And whatever period that would be, we will look at the contract for the engineer to designate what the fee should be, should have been, or would be.
So it would be for zoning, then you would put a specific slot in there for zoning, what his fees would be for zoning. Their fees.
Generally, the contract provides for an hourly fee, and then it may provide for some items. If there's nothing designated, it would be an hourly fee. But the contract would designate what the fee would be if there is a fee. There may not be a fee. And I think
You're sitting right there, what's your favorite?
I've reviewed 4 of them so far, the one.
Okay, so that was that's amount of time that you spent on.
no, that's a courtesy. Also,
I spent an hour just talking about it. Including actually.
Thank you,
also,
Ryan. Thank
one thing, also another thing I want to add is, if you don't amend it, zoning is an important permit. So if any municipality doesn't approve or disapprove a permit within a 10-day period, then it automatically gets granted. And zoning, obtaining a zoning permit is the first step toward development. The zoning officer decides if the zoning is permitted in that area which wants to be developed pursuant to ordinance. If there's nothing said either way, then it's approved. So it could be that if we have an absence such as the one we're having now, someone could slip in a zoning application and it would be approved, and there's nothing the municipality can do about it.
I'll give you a good example. You get a lot of applications for like someone building a deck. You have setbacks that they have to respect. So in theory, someone could submit an application for a deck right up to the property line. You don't review it in the set time period and they're automatically approved. And that would be profit. So that's the urgency in reviewing the time.
There's no question it has to be reviewed within a timely fashion, and these unfortunately were not with the absence of the zoning officer. Unfortunately, there haven't been any issues, and now there won't be any issues because the engineer will be reviewing them in the absence.
I didn't realize that it had to be in a resolution and it couldn't be put in the ordinance as far as the fees.
The money,
Yes, the monies.
it's never, you would never see an ordinance with any kind of money except for a penalty for a violation of the ordinance. But generally speaking, salaries, fees, et cetera, which are negotiated every year. So if we put it in for this year, next year it could be different sum. We have to redo the ordinance. That's why we're generally not done.
But couldn't it be written
Money
like,
is, you know,
according to the, an hourly rate and contract?
Well, then it doesn't leave the option for doing it for nothing, as Brian has been doing. If you designate that it has to be that, then of course they're gonna charge the city because that's what the ordinance says. And it doesn't leave open the possibility that there will be no charge as of the
say even in the RFP, I know all of the fees are in the RFP, and I'm thinking for you, as well as for us, to know what it would be, whether you're, doing them the favor or not.
Yeah, we have
Only
fixed,
there.
and anyone who would be appointed as the city planner, solicitor, engineer, we have fixed hourly rates.
Yes.
So I would bill you, per hour, and then that is the rate. So,
Right.
Next year will be different. We have 3 contracts, we change it.
But there's no zoning in there. I looked at, there's nothing that
Yeah,
says for
no, we
zoning
didn't-
and what it
obviously
would
we didn't
be.
envision this, so-
Yeah, maybe we can build that into the RP next year.
Yeah, exactly. That would be
Yeah.
fine. We build it in the RFP, we respond to it, you know, and then we have something documented that way via the contract.
So, fine, I have two. The first one is, in your capacity as a city engineer, are you authorized to operate to zoning?
So I'm a licensed planner, which is a cover, yeah. Tim Mickle, as the city planner years ago, was the zoning officer for a period of time. So I did have another question from others, you know, would it be a conflict if they're zoning and then they have to come to the board? He said, no, we did that for years with Tim doing it, so it's, you know, sort of parallel to that.
And my other question is, are you billing against an escrow or are you billing direct?
So the city pay, or the applicants pay $50. So I would bill it just under, we have a general engineering number, miscellaneous things. I billed 1 hour to general engineering. The city collected $200 in fees, my 1 hour is like $150. So, you know, the fees cover the billing. You have to distribute it. For all intents and purposes, you're paying, you're putting out less.
So when you submit the bill, will it say zoning?
Yeah, so for the general engineering
So we
number,
can keep track.
yeah, you get a specific, you know, 1 hour of my time on this day with a description. Because I know for various things, Jody matches them up to different fees that we collected. For the cannabis license reviews, you know, those are engineering, put exactly what it is, so she can match it up to that, the fees.
For the cannabis, we collect $2,500 specifically for the review.
Right.
So generally, doesn't cost the city anything. The applicant pays $2,500, which is why we have it in there for the review.
Right, this one, similar, it's just 50. So that's-
Gave the license. Great.
But then the next
Yeah,
year,
you
it's
want to
it's
go
25 every year, so
$2,500 a year.
once they get the license, the renewal is where.
Okay.
Any other questions on that?
What else you have?
Okay. For your consideration, I have ordinance number 29, which we discussed in committee. This is the noise which we added to the ordinance in chapter 198, section P. I created a section P, which deals with loud noise. And then I added a section Q, which says no parking is permitted on the nature trail.
Yeah, I have a question about that. Well, we had our ordinance committee requested that the nature trail, that no parking be at the trailhead, which is going to be gated off. So people aren't going to be able to drive. And I specifically wanted that in there. No
I thought that-
vehicles of any kind on the trail except for emergency vehicles.
I thought it was a little too specific for this particular instance. I thought it would be better if we just put no parking on the nature trails, which I think will cover it all. If you make it that specific, then it becomes a problem to enforce. So, but if you want to change it, I'm happy to change it.
Well, I'm concerned about enforcing it too, because if somebody should drive down that trail, how will the police be able to enforce it if it says no parking? I'm not parked, I'm driving.
It becomes difficult both ways. I agree. So, I mean, if you want to change it, I'm happy to change it. If you want to omit it, I'm happy to omit it. This is simply for introduction, not final text.
So they're not allowed to drive down?
No parking.
Any islands down?
The committee wanted parking, so I think driving is already covered in another part of the ordinance. So this is simply for parking. And frankly, I don't, can you actually, is there enough room
Yes.
to drive down the trail?
And that's the problem, is trucks get back there, they tear up the road, the kids get back there with ATVs and drive all over the place, and we're gonna be revegetating, we don't want anybody back there in any type of vehicle.
Okay, if you like, I could change it, no parking and driving. If that makes it better for you. You think that's better? Think that's better?
We can still introduce it.
Yeah, we can
just
still
amend it.
introduce it. And next meeting, when it's up for passage, the amended version will be there.
So we could introduce it
Yes,
and we can adopt it before.
no, we could introduce it tonight as is. I'll revise it, we'll publish it with the revision, and then we'll consider passage of it at the next meeting with the revision.
Can't we just change it right now?
No,
Why?
because we're not passing it tonight, we're just introducing.
I know.
It's kinda like
Can't
you
we
are,
make the
without
change now,
re-advertising.
introduce change?
No, because it hasn't been, advertised yet. But I'm happy to make the changes, that's what you desire.
When I do advertise it, I can put that. change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I make the change, we can advertise it with the change.
Yeah.
So that when it's considered for, passage, the change will be in there. So in other words, the final version will reflect the change at
Right.
passage next week. What would you like to put in there? Parking
No parking for driving.
or driving?
No parking permitted at the nature trailhead and no vehicular traffic except for emergency vehicles permitted on the nature trail.
Or no parking or driving? Okay,
Everybody agree with that? It's fine.
Anyone opposed? No, everyone's in agreement.
and then finally, I have, junk vehicle ordinance number 30, which I think now accurately reflects what the city would like to achieve. It defines abandoned motor vehicles. It defines, junk automobiles. It places restrictions on residential and non-residential properties, has enforcement and penalties, and does not make it onerous upon the police department to enforce.
Angela, I have a question. If there's a vehicle parked on a residential neighborhood on our streets and its registration is expired,
Right.
vehicle hasn't moved in a year, will this cover that? Or
It permits one vehicle, one such vehicle on residential property.
on the street?
One
I'm
second.
talking about that's on the street.
Oh, on the street,
Councilman Timbers, not to interrupt, we can tow the vehicle at that point. If it's not a registered vehicle, then it on a public street, then we can tow that. No,
Right.
so if there's something that you know of that, yeah, then feel free to call us, we'll take care of it.
as the chief said, yes, that's within their jurisdiction, their purview. This is simply for property as defined in the ordinance.
What about boats? Because there's a lot of.
Boats, yeah, I know you had a question about boats, but the motor vehicle code doesn't cover boats, so I'm not comfortable covering it in this ordinance.
Now that ordinance, that moving forward, would someone be grandfathered if they currently?
It is effective upon passage, so yes, them are grandfathered. It goes forward, not backward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that everything?
That's it. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Pretty good. Couple things. One is the saga of the pole in the middle of the path. Vijesh, who is the DOT local aid district 4 representative of our city, emailed us a couple days ago and said, you have 30 days to get that pole moved, or you're losing money. And thankfully, Atlantic Electric was copied, so 24 minutes later, they responded that it'll be moved in 5 days. So 5:15, mark your calendars. State aid roads, the concrete work is pretty much done on Chicago Avenue. They're down in Washington now, doing the curb, sidewalk, et cetera. Again, once that one's wrapped up, they'll prep and pave both at the same time. I'll probably take about 10 days. So it'll probably be another 2 weeks or so doing the concrete work and then doing the construction. The solar proposal, we sent updated bills over to the developer. They got us a proposal, but it wasn't fully responsive, so vision to that. So we should have that to discuss at next meeting. Again, this is the last time, but the municipal aid applications are open. They're due July 1st, so I'll have to talk about what 2 blocks or so we're going to do this upcoming year. And then New Orleans Avenue was submitted, but no word back yet. Why? Other than that, we have a couple of proposals, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Any questions for Brian?
Yeah, do we have a list of roads that need attention?
Informally, yeah.
We just wait till somebody complains.
Well, I have those too. There's enough to talk about. There's always more need than there is.
And who's gonna make the decision?
That's up to you guys.
So can we see the list?
Yeah, absolutely. I can distribute some suggestions.
Okay, thank you. Sure. So moving on to 14, motion to approve the use of Dover Park for birthday celebration, July 22nd. And it's gonna be a walk and a picnic from 9 a.m. to 12:30.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, number 15, is the introduction of ordinance number 7, 2023, calendar year 2023, to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and establish a cap. Bank. I have a motion to introduce.
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now I have a motion to advertise the ordinance in the Hamilton Gazette on the 17th of May for public hearing on the 25th of May. Second. All in favor? All right, number 16 is a resolution to introduce the 2023 Ann City municipal budget by title only.
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Antonisi,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Yes.
Hefty,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Wright.
Yeah.
Ritchie.
No. May I have a motion to advertise in the Gazette on the 17th for a public hearing on June 8th?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
17 is a resolution authorizing the sale of the Ann City water and wastewater assets to New Jersey American Water Company Incorporated for the amount of $21,800,000 and closing of the sale on or about June 1st of 2023. May I have a motion?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Antonisi,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Abstain due to personal reasons.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Abstain.
Wright,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Absolutely. Number 18 is a resolution to hire employees and Department of Public Works. If there's no questions or comments, may I have a motion?
Second.
Roll call.
add this? You're gonna add one in on that, right?
That's
Was it this one?
for, okay, so the 18, instead of just being public works, we'll do all the new hires, and that will include Curry, Rednick as the lake supervisor.
Okay,
I didn't get the second dash, I had to move, I'm sorry, I didn't.
A second.
Okay, sorry.
all right, if there's no questions or comments, may I have a roll call?
Antonisi,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yeah.
Timbers,
Yes.
Wright,
Yeah.
Ritchie.
Yeah. Number 19 is a resolution approving agreement with Eggleston City Board of Education for school resource officers. If there's no comments or concerns, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
I had a question.
Sure.
Was that clause taken out about the vehicles?
Yeah.
All right.
Roll call.
Antonisi,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Yeah.
Hesse,
Yeah.
Timbers,
Yes.
Wright,
Yeah.
Ritchie.
Yes. Number 20 is a resolution to award the Eggleston City concession stand with the 23 season to Gennaro's Italian Grill and Pizzeria.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Antonisi,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Absolutely.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Absolutely.
Good food at the lake in summer.
21 is a resolution authorizing the public fireworks display at our lake on July 15th of this year. May I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Antonisi,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Wright,
I just got one question. I know we used to do the July 15th, the second, the week after the 4th of July because of the hometown celebration. Now we don't have this hometown celebration, why don't we do the fireworks 4th of July?
How did they
Or
were
that there's no possible way.
Yeah, that's why I said that. I'm for it. It's fine. I just always, yeah,
That's a busy
yeah.
day.
Oh, 100%.
We'll never get cleaned up and then reopen.
Right.
And you might not want to mail it this week. You can do it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Right. They were ground effects.
That was a fire issue. code violation or something.
That's why we had to do the ground floor. No, I was just always wondered that since we didn't do the hometown, I know the reason that we always did it that way was because of the
Yeah.
hometown celebration.
Yeah, you know, you go to like.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
We left off with Councilman.
Yes.
On the roll call.
yes.
Oh, Richie.
Yes. Number 22 is a resolution to release line of credit performance guarantee. Mr. George, or, Jody, can you touch on that?
Yeah, so this has nothing to do with anything like George has done for the city. He had a land use board application which makes sense.
Okay.
But, hopefully I'll say properly. He subdivided the property several years ago, back in 2009. He was planning on, I think, originally building on the lots and selling them. There were requirements that the land use board put on the improvements that he would have to make to the properties before he could build the houses or something. Basically, the project was abandoned. It's been sitting as empty lots. So basically, he had to issue a performance bond or a line of credit while he would be doing those improvements. So we're just closing out that line of credit since the project never happened. He's going to file a deed notice in case he sells the property without doing the improvements, that whoever would purchase it will have to do those improvements.
Yeah, the only hurdle was just making sure that any future owner or purchaser of the property was bound to the same requirements that the board, put on it. Part of the approval. So we found a mechanism to do that.
How many lots?
It was 3 months.
Three. One on each side of the house.
No other questions?
Mr. Frick, does he do something for the city?
Yeah, I believe
He's supposed to do markings.
Yeah, that's-
Sell some of the properties.
that's only been the last couple of years. He got that approval.
It's also on the industrial.
All right, so no other questions or comments, Madam roll call?
Antonisi?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Dash?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Heist?
Yes.
Hussey?
Yes.
Timbers?
No.
Wright?
Yes.
Ritchie?
Abstain, professional relationship. And number 23 is a resolution for 100% totally disabled veteran tax exemption, property tax cancellation, block 530, lot 1. There's no questions or comments. May I have a motion?
So,
Second.
Roll call, please.
Antonisi?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Dash?
yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Heist?
Yes.
Hussey?
Yes.
Timbers?
Yes.
Wright?
Yeah.
Ritchie?
Yes. 24,
Which one was that? Is that,
300 Boston.
is that Mason?
No.
24 is a resolution. 100% totally disabled veteran refund check to redeem certificate 22-59 refund the overpayment tax cancellation created with amount of $1,599.33. If there's no questions or comments at this time, may I have a roll call, please?
I do have a question.
Sure.
Was this as a result of, you did a tax appeal?
No,
No.
he bought the house in September. He put in for the 100% disabled was in December. We did a resolution last year, starting it as of January 1st. So back in February, we redid the resolution to reflect back to when the house was purchased in September. And there was a lapse with the money in that time. So I guess a lien went on when he shouldn't have had a lien, because he shouldn't have really been paying taxes. And that's what
And it was corrected.
it was corrected.
Sorry, I meant to ask for a motion.
Make a motion.
Second, roll call, please.
Antonisi?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Dash?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Heist?
Yes.
Hussey?
Yes.
Timbers?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Ritchie?
Yes. Number 25 is a resolution for a duplicate utility payment, refund of the payment of $246.27. If there's no questions or comments at this time, I have a motion.
Make a motion.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Antonisi?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Dash?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Heist?
Yes. Yes.
Hussey?
Yeah.
Timbers?
Yes.
Wright?
Yeah.
Ritchie?
Yes. Number 26 is a resolution to refund overpayment of property taxes in the amount of $1,406.87. Who is this for? With the state?
It just has a property, 437 Havana Avenue.
Okay. All right. If there's no questions or comments, may I have a motion?
Second.
Roll call?
Antonisi?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Dash?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Heist?
Yes.
Hesse? Timbers?
Yes.
Wright?
Yeah.
Ritchie?
Yes. 27 is a resolution to authorize the application for the NVP Rescue Plan Grant from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs for $249,000 to carry out a project for redevelopment of the Archway Green Lot as a public events space. If there's no comments or questions at this time, I have a motion.
I have a question.
Sure.
Did we get a proposal from?
No, it's couldn't get it to you. They'll have it at the next meeting.
Should we hold off then? Who's gonna pay for this application?
Denied if you don't want it. It's in the budget. She said there's $15,000 in the budget for grants, remember?
For the NPP?
Anything. Any
Oh.
grant.
Well, don't they set aside like $50,000 for that project and they're applying for grants?
Because it would be a 3-year project and we may not have the grant for 3 years. So if we get this grant, it has to be finished by 2024.
That's not the question. The question is the cost of applying for the grant. They have that money set aside for that project.
Well, I
Can't
asked,
they
I
pay
asked
for the
Jake that and he
application?
said no, it's not. I thought it could, but it could not. He explained that it would have to be paid by the city.
Okay.
Any other questions? May I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Roll call, please.
Antonisi?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Dash?
Come back to me.
Galloway?
Yes.
Heist?
Yes.
Hesse?
Yes.
Timbers?
Yes.
Wright?
Yeah.
Ritchie?
Yes.
Dash?
Yes.
Number 28 is the ordinance that Angela spoke upon, number 8 of this year, amending chapter 52, titled Officers and Employees, article 29, titled Zoning Officer of the Code of the City of Egg Harbor. May I have a motion to introduce or question?
So moved.
I'll second. On favor? I have a motion to advertise the ordinance in the Hamilton Gazette on 17th of this month for a public hearing on the 25th.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 29 is to introduce the ordinance number 9 of this year, amending chapter 198, titled Parks and Recreation Areas, article 1, titled City Lake Parks, section 16.1, titled Prohibited Activities of the Code of the City of Egg Harbor to be further amended prior to public hearing, correct, Angela?
Yes.
Thank you. May I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to advertise ordinance 9 on the 17th in the Gazette for public hearing on the 20th?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? And the last ordinance, so that introduces number 10 of this year to repealing and replacing chapter 262, now titled Abandoned and Junk Vehicles of the Code of the City of Egg Harbor. No more questions or comments. May I have a motion to introduce?
Make a motion. Second.
Favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to advertise in the Hampton Gazette on the 17th for hearing on the 25th?
Make a motion.
Sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion paid bills?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Antonisi?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Dash?
Yes.
Galloway? Heist? Hesse?
Yes.
Timbers?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Ritchie?
Yes. Mayor, the floor is yours for the final comment.
I forgot to mention that the Memorial Day service will be moved to Lincoln Park this year. There's still a new parade, but we were doing it at the cemetery.
When does it start?
11. Yeah.
It's on your.
Okay, fine.
And that's it, just, once again, it was a great day, I'm cleaning up. You know, it's really nice when people get involved and come out. It's really great to have the support of city council and staff, and others too, the police department. And
Yes. Just a question, what was the tonnage that we picked up last year?
well, we didn't, because it was. it's
Oh, well,
been-
the last one we did. Great.
Yeah.
So,
But he's been sending, he's had a program where he pays somebody to clean up
Yeah, but it also shows a decrease in trash, hopefully
Yeah.
residents are cleaning up their
No.
properties.
No. Yeah, the past 3 years were both virtual, so I had to count bags instead of tonnage. And it really wasn't that significant. I guess we probably had about 20 participants. But it was still something, right, better than general.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else, Mayor?
No.
All right, Councilwoman Place,
I have nothing.
Councilman Dash.
Oh, yeah, in honor of Police Week, I'd like to wish our chief and her department safety. We'll be driving to DC to meet the police union tour riders tomorrow. We'll be riding in. Hundreds of police officers from all over the country will be riding to Washington DC. There'll be a candle vigil on Saturday night at the Washington Mall, where there's approximately 20 to 25,000 participants. So in honor of Police Week, wish you guys all safety.
Councilman Wright.
Just one thing, really, football signs will start this Tuesday. Tuesday, Thursday, right? Yeah, Tuesday, Thursday, 6 to 7, full contact. Camp will start last Tuesday in June, and go Tuesday and Thursdays for the rest of June, month of July, and then 5 nights a week come off.
Councilman Timbers.
Wow, I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Hesse.
I would just like to give a follow-up on the streetlight outage project that was spearheaded by Gary Hayes. There were over 100 streetlights out at one time, and we're now down to 2 old and 6 new lights. This is an ongoing project, and because of that, we must keep up on reporting outages so it doesn't get way on us again. Also, I have been in contact with Bert Lopez, our contact person for the electric company, regarding the reimbursement for streetlights. And I was told they are processing the refunds. The city pays for these lights even though they are not lit. So in order to be reimbursed, they must be reported. It's not only for the monetary reasons we should be on top of this. It deters crime. And the mayor and chief have everything in place to have the police report the outages moving forward. Bert Lopez, our new point of contact person for Atlantic Electric, has been very instrumental in getting the lights replaced. I'd like to thank Bert, Gary Hess, Steve Robles for an outstanding job. We can all do our part and report outages. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Anthony Steen.
I just wanted to remind everybody that the Crusaders are volunteers, and anybody that would like to come out and help us.
Amen.
We're out there Tuesdays and Thursdays. There's lots to do, so we can put people to work. We'll take donations for our stand. We're super busy. We're all super busy people. So anybody that would like to come out and help, you are more than welcome to at any time.
What hour is it? What time do you?
6 to 8, or 6, right now, we're
6 to 7 on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
6 to 7.
And then I just wanted to say Happy Mother's Day, all the moms for this weekend. I hope that your families spoil you.
Councilwoman Clark.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Councilwoman Galloway.
Nothing, thank you.
All right, I just want to finish up for public comment. So kudos, Mayor, Ryan, Angela, everyone sitting up here on the council, everyone sat up here previously on the council with the sale of the Woodard Treatment Facility. It's finally coming to fruition. It's been what, 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. The diligent work on everyone's behalf is far and beyond all of our expectations. So round of applause to all of you and everyone involved with that. And then just like to all you moms, to my wife, to the moms to the left, to the moms to the right, to the moms in front of me, to the moms on Zoom, to the moms in the world, you all deserve more than 1 day a year. So God bless you. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-great-grandkids, whatever you have. So with that, I'll open up to the public for any final comments.
How's anything good?
Yeah. Anybody from the public have any comments? Go once, go twice, twice, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Everyone have a great night and weekend.